Hello and welcome to This Month in Agenda 21, June 2020. Coming up in today's show, the African Centre for Biodiversity raises concerns on GM COVID-19 vaccine trials in South Africa and calls for transparency and public hearings. Ramaphosa announces that the recovery from the state-caused economic collapse should be led by the same state, as he also announces securing billions in funding for expanding the smart grid. And Ramaphosa urges African leaders to start planning for vaccine development and distribution. On 3 June, founder of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, announced that now is the time for a great reset of global capitalism. And if you want to understand exactly how much South Africa is the New World Order and global governance agenda's bitch, he is simply echoing something that Johan Rupert already told us in April. Of further note is the way climate change is once again married to the scamdemic, because they are both fake crises to justify the UN sustainability agenda. This connection between the two crises is also something that CNN, of course, let slip in April. They changed the headline later, though. This intertwining of the two crises will probably become much more apparent in the coming months, as the world is being prepared to accept the carbon currency so sought after for so long. And now we see why the economy was killed to the point of reset. Problem, reaction, solution. Only the billionaires survive, while the rest of us are left begging for our universal basic carbon credit income. On 10 June, the African Centre for Biodiversity made a submission to the Registrar of GMOs in South Africa, following an application made by Professor Shabir Ahmed Mahdi from the Respiratory and Meningeal Pathogens Research Unit at the Chris Hani Baragwanath Academic Hospital for approval for release of a genetically modified COVID-19 vaccine for clinical phase 1 and 2 trials on 2,800 both healthy and HIV-positive adults over a period of 12 months. I was unsuccessful in trying to contact the African Centre for Biodiversity this morning. Hopefully I can get hold of them pretty soon so that we can get an update from them on the matter. Replying to a question about South Africa's economic recovery in the National Assembly via a virtual platform on the 18th of June, President Ramaphosa insisted that the recovery of the economic collapse caused by the government should be led by the government. 5 days later, it became apparent what he meant when he announced securing billions in funding for infrastructure development that's supposed to kickstart our economy. Where did he make this announcement? At the inaugural Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium, or SIDS, of South Africa. For the new viewers, sustainable development and Agenda 21 are exactly the same things. Shovel-ready projects that have been fully developed in energy, healthcare, water, transport, and ICT infrastructure will be prioritized, and the president wants to see ground being broken as soon as possible and make sure that this won't be just another talk shop. Those, of course, all just happen to be key areas of control where UN Agenda 21 has deemed your current lifestyle to be unsustainable. So look forward to more smart meters, rationing your water and electricity use, mandated or strongly incentivized health passes and vaccines on behalf of companies who set themselves up to benefit from a totally unneeded vaccine last year already, well before the outbreak supposedly started. These shovel-ready projects are all in key areas of sustainable development where you will be rationed. This is an expansion of the smart grid infrastructure. In other words, the economic devastation caused by the government's loyalty to the UN Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals is going to be fixed by infrastructure expansion for the Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Congratulations, South Africa. In character with the busy little Agenda 2030 beaver that Ramaphosa has been in the last few months, the very next day, he was urging African leaders to start preparing for vaccine development and distribution. Ramaphosa said African leaders need to join efforts and negotiate with global donors to raise funds as well as mobilize resources in their own countries and on the continent to secure supply of the vaccine up front. Maybe you should check first if there is a demand, Cyril. We need to start to plan now and to improve the infrastructure in each of our countries to prepare for the rollout of the vaccine. This includes accelerating regulatory approvals strengthening supply chain, and improving our ability to deliver the vaccine to the population. He also said the pandemic underscores the essential value of maintaining funding for medical research even after the current health crisis has passed, so that Africa can be ready for the next pandemic. Let's just pause and understand that this urgency that Ramaphosa is expressing and the media is helping with is happening in the context of, as of 19 March 2020, COVID-19 is no longer considered to be a high-consequence infectious disease in the UK. The Four Nations Public Health High Consequence Infectious Disease Group made an interim recommendation in January 2020 to classify COVID-19 as a high consequence infectious disease. This was based on consideration of the UK HCID criteria about the virus and the disease, with information available during the early stages of the outbreak. Now that more is known about COVID-19, the public health bodies in the UK have reviewed the most up-to-date information about COVID-19 against the UK HCID criteria. They have determined that several features have now changed. In particular, more information is available about mortality rates, low overall, and there is now greater clinical awareness and a specific and sensitive laboratory test, the availability of which continues to increase. The Advisory Committee on Dangerous Pathogens is also of the opinion that COVID-19 should no longer be classified as an HCID. Remember that recent apology in our media to the Gates Foundation about a vaccine story, trialing vaccines on Africans? It turns out they were right to apologize because, you see, it's not one of Billy's vaccines that is being trialed first in South Africa. This is a vaccine tied to the Jenner Institute at Oxford University. One of the Jenner Institute partners is OSI, Oxford Sciences Innovation, in which financial services company Signia has a 16% share. Since our last video, biznews.com had to issue an apology and clarify that neither Signia nor any other company will profit from a vaccine during the pandemic. The return on investment will only come after the pandemic. So this seems to be more great news for small business owners and all COVID entrepreneurs. It seems you can now charge whatever you want for hand sanitizer, toilet paper, liquid soap, anything that has become harder to come by during the lockdown. You can charge whatever you want, as long as you keep your return on investment in a trust account until after the pandemic. I'm sure everyone would be overjoyed at this news. That's it for this month in Agenda 21. We will see you again next month.
Please remember to click subscribe and the bell for notifications if you want to see our future content, and you can follow us in the following places: